Isn't it kind of crazy that some people actually enjoy studying? You might look at them and think they're just naturally smart, or maybe they're nerds, or maybe they just don't have a life. I used to think the same thing, but what if I told you that studying doesn't have to feel like this miserable thing you're forcing yourself to do? What if you could enter a state where you don't even realize you're studying anymore? For example, looking up at the clock and realizing you've been studying for 2 hours. Sounds impossible, right? But there's actually a reason some games can hold your attention for so long. And once you understand that, you can use the same principles to make studying so engaging that you almost forget you're studying. Number 1, stop making studying a chore. Think about how you normally approach studying. You sit down and tell yourself, I have to study for 3 hours. And immediately, your brain starts thinking about everything else you'd rather be doing. You check your phone, you look at the clock, you get distracted, then you tell yourself you need more discipline. But the problem might not be your discipline, it might be the way you're studying. Think about it. You wouldn't play a video game by staring at the same screen for 3 hours doing nothing. So why study that way? Instead of making your goal study for 3 hours, give yourself something to actually do. Solve problems, test yourself, try to beat your previous score, explain concepts, challenge yourself. Make the studying itself interesting. Because when you're focused on the challenge, you stop thinking about the time. And that's exactly what we want. The second principle is finding your flow. There's a state called the flow state. It's when you're so focused on something that you stop paying attention to everything around you. You aren't thinking about your phone, the clock, you're just completely absorbed in what you're doing. And you've probably experienced this before. Maybe you've been playing a game and suddenly realized it was midnight. Maybe you were drawing, editing a video, playing an instrument, or doing something you genuinely enjoy. You weren't forcing yourself to concentrate. Your brain was interested enough to concentrate for you. The trick is to make studying easier to enter that state. And the first step is making sure the challenge isn't completely ridiculous. The third principle is making the challenge match your skill. If something is way too easy, you're going to get bored. If it's way too difficult, you're going to get frustrated. But when something is slightly above your current ability, that's where things get interesting. So if you're studying something and literally don't understand anything, don't just keep pushing through it. Go back, find the last thing you actually understood, then start there. Once that's easy, move up, then up again and again. You're basically creating a difficulty curve for yourself. And when the difficulty keeps increasing alongside your skill, studying becomes much more engaging. You're not thinking, I hate this. You're thinking, wait, I almost got it. Then you try again, and suddenly you're completely locked in. The fourth principle is stop watching yourself study. This sounds weird, but hear me out. A huge reason studying feels so boring is because you're constantly monitoring yourself. How long have I been studying? How much is left? When can I take a break? You're technically studying, but half of your brain is watching the clock. Instead, give yourself a specific objective, like, I'm going to solve these 15 problems. Now your attention is on the task. You don't care how long it takes, you just want to finish. And that's a massive difference. The fifth principle is making yourself curious. A lot of games do this, and you can apply this to studying by making it more interesting. Stop treating everything like information you have to memorize. Start asking questions. Instead of saying, I need to remember this historical event, ask, why did this actually happen? Now, you're not just memorizing, you're investigating. And curiosity is one of the easiest ways to keep your brain engaged. The sixth principle is to test yourself constantly. Reading the same page over and over can get incredibly boring. So turn learning into a challenge. Read something once, close the book, then ask yourself, how much can I remember? Try to explain it without looking. Write down everything you know. Do some practice questions, then check your answer. Now you're playing against yourself, and every question becomes a tiny challenge. You get something right? Nice. You get something wrong? Now you know what to improve. You're constantly getting feedback, and that feedback keeps your brain engaged. Principle 7. Don't study until you're completely burnt out. Here's something a lot of people get wrong. They think studying for longer automatically means studying better. So they sit at their desk for hours and force themselves through everything. But eventually, you're not even learning anymore. You're just staring at a page. Instead, study in focused blocks. Work until you notice your concentration dropping. Take a real break, move around, get some water, then come back. The goal isn't to prove how long you can sit at a desk. The goal is to actually learn. And sometimes, a focused 45 minutes can feel more productive than 3 hours of half-focused studying. The eighth principle is to make progress visible. Your brain loves seeing progress. That's why many games have XP bars, levels, ranks, achievements. You always know you're getting somewhere. You can recreate that while studying. Keep track of the topics you've mastered, check things off, record your test scores, keep a streak if that motivates you. And when you improve, acknowledge it. Because there's something incredibly satisfying about looking back and realizing, I couldn't do this a week ago. That feeling makes you want to keep going. And eventually, you stop studying because you have to, and start studying because you want to see how far you can take it. The real secret, but here's the biggest thing, You don't need to make studying fun every second. That's impossible. Some topics are going to be boring, and sometimes you're not going to want to do it. The goal is to make studying engaging enough that you stop constantly fighting yourself. Give yourself interesting challenges, match the difficulty to your skill, focus on questions instead of just memorizing, test yourself, remove distractions, and most importantly, stop watching the clock. Because the moment you stop thinking about how much longer you have to study is the moment you can actually get lost in what you're learning. And that's the feeling we're looking for. You sit down thinking you're going to study for 30 minutes, you start solving problems, you get curious about something, and then eventually you look at the clock and realize, wait, I've been studying for 2 hours. That's when you know you've done it. You didn't force yourself to study, you forgot you were studying.